Okay, mom. The slurps here. The
Slurpsies are
slurper
here.
is in the building. Wow. So I have my chat open with my brother because I was texting him and my voice to text came on and it sent him all of this that we were just saying. Good job, Uruj. Good job. Let's just put that away.
I'm eating my biscuit.
You eat your biscuit, girl. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the episode. Happy Wednesday. We missed y'all. We hope you're doing well. It's okay. You can have a little sweet treat today, Hina.
I am.
It's okay.
After like 60 episodes, I'm allowed to have a sweet treat.
Facts. And meanwhile, our viewers are probably like, okay, y'all are eating something every single time you're recording. So
So what? Don't be jealous.
live your best life, y'all. Live your best life. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are making our way to 25K. We really appreciate it. You already know we have Patreon. So subscribe to the channel so you understand when all of that is going to be released. Follow us on our socials, TikTok and Instagram. You will also know when we release our Patreon episodes there. And follow us on Patreon. Follow us on subscribe. Guys, it's nothing. It's a measly like $5.
Guys, it's literally like $5.
Yeah. It's less than a Starbucks coffee, which we're already not getting. So take that money that you would have spent on a Starbucks coffee.
What she said.
Subscribe to our Patreon channel.
And also, Patreon is where we have more fun.
Facts.
It's a
little
more
unhinged.
Fun version. The fun version.
It's a little unhinged.
A little bit, just a little, but
and there's other perks there too, especially when it comes to like merch, future events. You guys will have all the special discounts and early bird tickets.
There's no ads on Patreon because we heard you. We heard y'all.
We know YouTube ads are a law. We can't do anything about that. We don't control YouTube.
Just देख लिया करो ad. It's okay.
कोई नहीं है ताकि हम थोड़ी सी टिम होर्टन्स जाके कॉफी तो ले लें. We are so happy you are here. Hina, how are you doing?
Honestly, I am doing great. I had a great 8-hour sleep at my mom's house.
Bless.
It was just a lovely day, It was
Yo, the sleep at mom's homes?
Because I don't have to worry,
Facts.
I woke up and I went downstairs, the downfall is that my mom was making sog this morning, which I love. Okay, I love sog. But when you make sog, the house be smelling like sog. So the way I ran from upstairs to downstairs and out the door, it was like as fast as I could because I didn't want to smell like sog walking in.
Well, I didn't smell nothing, so you're good.
Good.
Could I have a lot of makhan on that? Roti?
Sog with paratha in the morning. Oh my God.
I remember one time my mom made sog and we just had like leftover naan. And I spread it on there like, like a manakish style. And it was just like the base on the naan. And it was so good. I was like folding it like how you fold a pizza slice and eating it. It was delicious. Y'all, are you liking my Corel mug?
Are you liking my non-Corel mug?
You want to get Hina's mug, not my mug.
This mug is available to purchase, guys. Get your merch, man. We haven't talked about our merch in a long time.
I know.
I'm wearing the merch. I totally forgot.
Let's go, y'all. Let's get the merch.
Guys, fleece lined. Say baat mein keh rahi hu. Fleece lined, worth the money, and guess what? Embroidered.
It's not gonna get kharab. Wash it. Just don't put it in the dryer. Hang to dry, y'all. Hang to dry.
Hang to dry. Okay. The topic for the day.
What is our question of the week?
What's something you learned in your marriage that you wish you had known before?
Oof. I'm gonna pull up some answers.
I know we always say that we got a lot of response. We did, but I actually felt like this question is so important.
Yep. And we've touched on it when we've talked about like things that you wish you could talk about before you got married and things that you learned afterwards. So it's kind of a play on things we've kind of spoken about already. But some of the stuff you guys said are actually things that we haven't touched on, which I like.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are speaking from experience, which is great. And so I think it's good if we do a deep dive.
I love
roll into it.
All right. Men have no emotional intelligence. You have to train them to have it. And then you're emotionally scarred. Have to either accept the hurt he caused and move past it, or you decide to go your separate ways. But if he marries again, he will now be trained thanks to you. So they'll probably be living a fantastic life.
Snappity snippity snaps.
Whoa.
All I gotta say is that last line that she popped in there like a Pop-Tart.
But if he marries again, he will now be trained thanks to you. So you deserve your flowers, girl.
You deserve your flowers because at the end of the day, you've been giving them flowers away.
Facts.
Ye lo, tum bhi lo, oh lo. That's what we do.
Make a wish on this
We're
daddy
givers.
lion. You
Yeah.
make the wishes.
Yeah.
I don't get nothing.
मैं कर लेती हूँ. I'll do it. Oh, you want to traumatize me? Go ahead.
Yo, emotional
How do I
intelligence
fix you?
Emotional intelligence is a big thing. How do you get somebody who is not aware of that or doesn't know how to have any sort of emotional intelligence? How do you teach them that? That's hard.
That's hard. I don't know if every man does not have emotional intelligence.
I don't think it's every man.
I don't know if we can say that, but I don't even think that they don't have it. I just think that they've been raised in a different way and they're just a different species.
And it's like if they choose to use it.
Yeah, and it's also about like being able to come to a level where you are capable. Everyone's capable. It's just do you have the desire to try to want to understand your partner?
And do you want to sympathize and empathize with them?
Yeah,
Yeah, go.
No, or I was gonna say, or are you gonna take their emotions and kind of throw it in their face? And be like, you're just very emotional.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity to understand you.
I think everybody has the capacity to understand to some degree, I would say.
I think so too. I think maybe a lot of that you're just so emotional and like I can't handle it comes from a place where they just don't know how to handle emotions.
Yeah.
They don't know how to handle the emotions.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be expressive with your emotions because why are you going to keep that stuff inside?
And also, how can we say that there's no emotional intelligence for men, but like anger is such a big emotion for them?
Right?
They experience anger all the time. Even the cuckoo's like, cuckoo always chimes in at the right time.
Kukru. Yeah.
She knows. This cuckoo knows.
Kukru knows, man. Oh my goodness.
Like, how is it that you can experience anger and that's like probably one of the biggest emotion that men will feel okay to express because it's societally acceptable for them to express that emotion. But any other emotion you can't?
Yeah.
That means you have emotional intelligence.
Sadness they can't express.
Nope.
Okay.
Even happiness has to be a bit dimmed.
Yeah. Like,
zyada khush nahi ho
my
sakte.
God. You know when you like, okay, so girls are the type where if I get a Uruje a present and she really loves me, I get a Uruje a Drake hoodie. This girl's gonna be like, like she would be so excited because that's how us girls are. We get so excited, okay? You get a guy something that he really wants and he'll be like, oh, thanks, man. That was really nice.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Thanks. Oh, that was really nice.
Aw.
Side hug.
They don't say aw.
No.
They don't all say aw.
They're like,
thanks.
oh, that was nice. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks.
Do they call their wives bro?
No.
Maybe.
Maybe they do.
Who knows?
And then they'll just be like, oh, and then they'll give themselves credit for you getting the gift.
I put the idea in your head.
Tracy, look at how well I'm training you.
And
Where are my flowers?
And then guess what? Their mom, when she finds out that you gave him that hoodie or whatever, she'd be like, हाँ, क्योंकि मेरा बच्चा इतना अच्छा है कि सारे उसकी तारीफें करते हैं. दुनिया में तो सारे उसकी तारीफ करते हैं, किसी और की तो नहीं करते, तुम्हारी तो नहीं करते हैं.
And then she'll look at you being like, ये तुम पहली दफा दे रही हो? You've been married for 5 years.
Like, मैं तो उसको हर महीने तोहफे देती हूँ.
जो ये Amazon पैकेज है ना, ये असल में मैं लेती हूँ अपने बेटे के लिए.
You're so lucky. Because I was the one that created this rishta, the reason why you are lucky enough to have such a loving husband is because of me and my parvarish. Okay?
अब मेरा तोहफा किधर है?
Oh, Lord.
Because when you gift him, you gotta gift her too.
You should be like, मैं आपका तोहफा हूँ.
Yeah, come with a bow on your head, walk in the house.
I swear to God, I need one of the girls to just do this for Mother's Day. Be like, I am the gift.
I am the gift.
The gift that keeps giving.
I am your flowers.
That my sister-in-law is a textbook narcissist and my husband has severe PTSD because of it. And my parents-in-law are strict enablers to her. My marriage is highly affected. I wish I knew I had to take a stand on the first unjust inconvenience caused, not wait for it to cross my patience limits. First time was the right time to say no to the toxic behavior I was put through. Loaded.
It's hard when you do have somebody in the family who takes on that role and then everybody has to play into it.
It's also hard when you realize that there are certain problems, whether it be a sister-in-law, brother-in-law, even a husband.
Yeah.
And what makes it really difficult is when the in-laws become enablers.
Okay, you know what it is? On the flip side of it, they're gonna feel like you are the outsider. You came into this family. You married my son. Okay, so you have to be okay with the way we run things. That's what it is. So it's like if this sister-in-law has always taken on the role of like being this narcissistic individual, everybody plays into it. Everybody has PTSD from it. How is everybody gonna come together and fight it? It's so hard.
But I think it is hard.
Let's say you did set a boundary.
Yeah.
Let's say the first time something happened, disrespect, whatever, you set a boundary. How is that even going to play in your favor? Do you think it would?
But does it have to play in your favor?
I mean, yeah, because you're trying to set a boundary.
No, I'm saying you set a boundary because you're like, I'm not going to allow you to disrespect me, right? The reverse of it would be that you don't set the boundary and you allow the disrespect to consistently keep happening.
Right.
And that's going to happen till the day you die then.
Yeah,
really
facts.
it is, okay? Once you give that person power, they're already in power. They already are on a power trip.
Yeah.
Once you give them more power and you're like, oh, I'm under you and I just want to make you happy. You know, like that monkey that goes, like you're literally doing one of those, okay? And then you're just like, I want to make you happy. And then she knows that she has a one up on you.
Right.
So either you do that or you set the boundary. So I know what would happen. If you set the boundary, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit disruptive.
Right.
Because then the in-laws could be like, oh, she came into the family and now she's causing a disruptance. Now my son is maybe not as close to his sister, whatever the idea of this might be. I still think, are you here to make them happy or protect your mental health and your marriage?
It's so hard in the beginning when you get married though, because like all you want to do is make everybody in your in-laws happy.
Yeah.
And you might not even recognize the behavior at first.
Yeah.
When you first get married, you're still like tiptoeing on eggshells, trying to figure out.
And so are they.
So are they, right? But they're trying to see like what irks you, what eggs you on. You're trying to figure out like, what can I say? What can I not say? And then if you have somebody in the family who is like so high on their horse, how are you going to be able to even say anything or rock that boat? That's my biggest thing. I'm really picturing it as like 23-year-old Hina. Okay. You got married and you have somebody in your in-laws. Anybody, doesn't have to be sister-in-law, it could be a brother-in-law. Who knows, right? It could be like your husband's sibling spouse.
Yeah, it could be
It could be literally anybody. Let's say they're on their high horse, and let's say like your in-laws are actually genuinely good people. Okay. But now that you have this one person who actually like reigns supreme, how are you even gonna like?
If I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like
if I was that age, I think because that's just how we've been raised to be people pleasers, I would 100% go into it being like, oh my God, so what? If I'm really nice, then she'll like me. It's all about like, how can I make them like me? How can I make them love me?
Yeah.
I don't want to, like cause any disturbances. How can I make them like me? But I think that's because of the way that we've been raised. And it's wrong. We've been raised the wrong way. Let's just admit it. We've been raised the wrong damn way. And then I think what happens is that you start off that way. But eventually I think everyone has a limit, man. Like,
I know.
it's not being a bitch ke sano ke samne, like I'm gonna be like your slave.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do things that are so blatantly wrong. They are wrong. You're doing something that's so out of pocket. And I'm not. And sometimes you know what happens? Oh my God. Sometimes you're put in a position where you see something wrong happening. You know it's wrong. Okay. There's no like someone being rude to someone. You're like, you're being rude and that person has done nothing to you and they're such a nice person. And that person is consistently being rude to that person. And then they almost come to you because you're their like brother-in-law or you're their sister-in-law. And they come to you because they need you to kind of like support them. Right?
Like be on their side.
To be on their side. So they'll be like, oh my God, don't you think that da-da-da-da-da-da? And you're in a position where you're like, I don't think that about that person.
Right.
I think they're a very nice person, but I can't say that to this person here, my in-laws, because if I say that to them, then they're immediately going to be like, oh, okay, well, she's kind of like she thinks she's better than me. They have that thought process and mentality. And inside you're in mental turmoil because you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Do I pick their side and like hamelo, or do I stick up for the person for what is right? Sticking up for what is right is hard.
It's so hard.
And a lot of the times it's horrible to say, but yeah, we will hamela. We will.
We hamela in almost everything.
And then after you're like, why did I say that? Imagine that person heard that I agreed with her. You know what I'm saying?
Or it goes back and then instead of that person saying, oh yeah, we thought that, it'll be she thought that. And then you get in trouble.
Exactly. I just think it's the hard thing to do is to be like, I don't really know. But I feel like that comes with age.
Yeah, you can't.
Unless
Yes.
you're young and your parents have taught you not to be a people pleaser, then va.
Yo, TED Talk that.
TED Talk that. Teach us too, you know? But majority of us, we've been taught to be these people pleasers.
Honestly.
People pleasing with your in-laws, people pleasing with your parents, people pleasing with everybody around you. And so getting into a marriage, why would it be any different?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the same thing. It's the same old rodeo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like with her situation, dealing with in-laws that are enabling the bad behavior of either a sister-in-law or brother-in-law gets really difficult, because even if you set the boundary, the in-laws, they do not even care to fix that behavior, even when they see that it's wrong. You can't change that.
Like they're even, let's say they didn't do it while you've been married, but in the past they've tried to correct that behavior. It's their daughter at the end of the day, right? They've tried to sit down and be like, listen, this is not good, whatever. At one point, even parents are like, man, mat mari hui hai, main kitna kahun isko? They're not gonna change. Deed hai.
But then there's some parents that will allow their kids to like reign supreme.
Yeah.
And the parents just take a backseat and they're just like, oh, well, now they're older. We have no control.
And it's also,
And
you
you're
know,
like-
when your kids reach a certain age, you feel like as a parent, you can't even discipline them anymore. Like, well,
Yeah.
ja chuke hain, right? And then it's just kind of like, if you have good in-laws, I'm saying if you have good in-laws, I actually feel bad because now they have a sibling, or sorry, not sibling, they have a child who holds such power in the family that you are being disrespected. Your husband is clearly being disrespected because he already is going through PTSD from whatever happened to the two of them. And the parents are like, I don't know how to manage the situation because she's not going to listen.
Yeah.
And you're coming in here. We feel bad for you because you're new. For us, we just excuse the behavior because this has literally been the way it's been from day one.
But you know, if the in-laws were good in-laws and they actually pulled you to the side and they said, listen, like if the sister-in-law or the brother-in-law disrespects you, okay? And they pull you to the side and they're like, listen, what she's saying is wrong. Like she has to work on herself. If they pull you aside and even if they have the courage to explain it to you and be like, she's wrong, to at least admit it, then like thoda sa na dil ko tasalli mil jati hai.
Yeah.
A little bit of like calm feeling in your heart that, okay, she might be doing something wrong. He might be doing something that is wrong. However, at least I know that my in-laws see it, recognize it, and are still able to understand how it could potentially impact me. Then at least you're like, okay, I can handle this. I can manage it.
And you can be like, okay, fine. Even if my husband's not going to say anything, at least they are aware of my feelings.
Yeah.
You know, having your feelings validated and respected is a big step.
Oh my God.
And if you feel that in the family by anyone, then you can feel like, okay, I can make this work. Like we all know this is her toxic behavior.
Yeah.
At least everybody over here is knowing that I'm not like a problem or it's not in my head.
Yeah.
Because it's all in your head. That's what I think is what gets us Desi girls in sticky situations, because we're sitting there like, we'll feel bad about something. You've been disrespected. Somebody outright like disrespected you at a family gathering. Like, isko kya pata, isse kyun pooch rahi hain aap? Straight up, let's say somebody just says that to you, okay?
I almost choked on my spit there.
Okay? Like, let's say we're all just sitting let's say you're talking about the election.
Yeah.
Because we all know who won.
Lord.
All right? The toxic Americans going back to their exes. It's a similar pattern. We all know this, okay? Let's say we're talking about that and you chimed in. You were following the elections. You were very smart, Hina. You did your undergrad political science. You are very aware of what's going on, okay? And you work for the ministry. Boom, boom, boom. Check, check, check.
Bam, bam, bam.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you know, you're at a family gathering and somebody's khala or somebody's coming out to you like, oh my God, Hina, what did you think? Were you whatever? And you're like, I was keeping track. I was doing this. Da, 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 da. I was like on the news, this, that, whatever, doing all these things. And your sister-in-law comes to you and says, isko kya pata? Isse kyun pooch rahi hain aap?
I would call her out. I would.
Would you actually?
Yeah, I would.
Like 23-year-old Hina?
No, maybe not 23. I'm talking about now.
Now Hina, I know you would call her out.
I don't know if I would be like, excuse me, but I would definitely give her a dirty look.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah, yeah.
But
okay.
23-year-old, chup chop, karke aaram se baith jati.
Right? And then you're going to go home that night. In your head, you're going to be like, yeah, maybe she's right. Maybe I don't know.
Oh my God.
And that breaks my heart.
Oh my God. The way people tear down your sense of self.
Your own sense of self. Because you're just sitting there being like, yeah, I guess she's right. Like, maybe I didn't know. Maybe it is like an adult conversation. I'm not considered an adult yet. I'm only 23. I'm this, that, whatever. I have so much life to learn. And the way that you end up self-destructing, that's the part that breaks my heart. Because piece by piece, Hina, if you keep doing that year after year after year, and you're just taking apart a part of who you are, then you're going to be left with nothing. And then when you do find a voice in your 30s, when you can stand up for yourself, when you can set certain boundaries with toxic people in your life, you might even choose not to, because your whole life you were told it's in your head.
Girl, and I feel like that stems from, I think we have talked about this in the past, that feeling when someone takes away your sense of self. It stems from the fact that like we as girls, I can say this as Desi girls, and again, not everyone, but a lot of us have been raised in environments where we have never been taught to trust our own instincts or our sense of self. We've never been taught self-confidence, to believe in ourselves. And so even if we had done the research and I was like, you know, a poli-sci major and all this stuff, right? Even if I had all that stuff done, right? Somebody that is older than me, who has like holds a place of authority, where like we give older people a place of authority. We give in-laws a place that's higher than us, right? That's how it is. Okay. When they come and they belittle you publicly, the way that it just smashes down your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your just sense of self, all of it, because we also have not been taught to say, hey, hold on, let me stand up for myself. We've never been taught that. So we have all this self-doubt in us to be like, oh, maybe she knows me better than I know me. If only it was different. And I think maybe with our children, it will be different, hopefully, where we have been able to talk about this openly and say, no, stand up for yourself, love yourself, trust your gut. You know what you're capable of more than a lot of people around you.
Right.
Maybe that generation will be different, but that's horrendous.
Yeah. And my greatest like sadness in all of this is when you feel like somebody's been attacking your character.
Girl.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you know, you're a good person. You know that you are having such a genuine, nice conversation about politics respectfully with an adult at the table. Okay. Because we all know siyasat ke bare mein bache don't talk. It's like all adults are talking. But if somebody has respectfully included you in the conversation, wants to know your opinion, wants to know your experience with it, your insights on it, and somebody else is coming and derailing you, right? That's like an attack to who you are as a person, and your likes, your dislikes, your accolades, whatever you've done to be accounted to have that seat at the table.
But I also think that another thing to always recognize, if you're ever in a situation like this, right? If somebody can publicly do that to you and make you feel less than, it's not about you. You really have to like look at them and be like, oh my God, you are so just like, you're such you have such low self-esteem and such low confidence that instead of being able to be a part of the conversation and join in and share your perspectives, you choose to belittle someone else just to make yourself feel like, oh, I have an upper hand over you. I am better than you. What do you know? Because I think belittling other people comes from a place where you are lacking something. It doesn't come from a place of positivity. It comes from a place of negativity. It comes from a place of like, you are not fulfilled internally. And so you are lashing out on other people and taking it out on them. So I think that if a lot of us, even like the younger girls, can think of it that way, then it will help you moving forward, because maybe it won't feel so personal, even though it does feel personal. But I don't know. I would look at it as like, it's sad that you just feel like that's your only approach to communication, to belittle.
You know what else sucks? Let's say you decide to set that boundary. Let's say you decide to like speak. Let's say the whole situation happened with this whole political conversation. Okay. And then afterwards you're like, you know what? I'm going to message her. I'm going to message her. I'm going to be like, hey, listen, that was not cool. You know, like I didn't appreciate that, whatever. And you say it in the message, you're like, listen, respectfully so. Okay. I'm not angry. This is not coming from a place of anger. I'm just trying to tell you that this is how I feel. And then that person goes around and gets mad at you.
Which they would.
There's
no way a person with that personality would ever let you win. Remember that.
So I think even for you, listen, at the end of the day, you have to protect your own peace. And if you are able to say that and let somebody else know how they made you feel, just know that the consequences are going to be, they're going to turn around and throw it back on you. Okay. But that's fine, because at least you can go to bed at night being like, at least I said what I had to say and I'm not holding it in. Because what do? We bottle things in for years and years and years. And then 10, 15 years into your marriage, you're like, but she said this, but she did this. And then you end up exploding. That's not healthy.
It's not. And I think when someone does disrespect you, especially when you are married into that family, you have to say it. And it's something that's really difficult, because a lot of the times it depends on the personalities around you, right? Like if you are a timid person, sometimes confronting someone who has a very strong, aggressive personality can feel very daunting. You might think, okay, if I approach this person and I call them out, I know that I will not get that. Oh, I'm sorry I did that. I know I won't get it. And sometimes you don't get it. From experience, there's been times where I've had to sit with people and because of who I was when I was younger, overly apologize for things that I should never have apologized for.
Right.
Like, oh, you did me dirty. I will apologize if I did anything to hurt you.
Let me be the better person.
Let me be the better person. It's always let me be the better person. Oh, you know what? Let's just squash it. Let me be the better
Take
person.
the high road.
And then you realize that the other person in that entire conversation did not even bother to be like, hey, you know what? I'm also sorry. Not once. And I think that's when you realize that like, was it even worth it for me to call them out? But I still feel like you get like a little bit of sukoon or like calm in your heart to know that, hey, you know what? I said my piece.
Yeah.
Instead of me holding it in. But it's hard because sometimes you're like, oh, if I say it, it's just going to cause more drama. And maybe if I say it the next time I see them, they won't talk to me. And then they'll tell other people not to talk to me. Like you're in such a sensitive place when you get married.
Yeah,
man.
you are.
Like you're like, I say it and then people are going to catch feelings.
Exactly.
Because I know their temperament. So what do? I don't say it then because I don't want to stir the pot.
Exactly.
So you're in a really awkward situation at times, but I still feel like...
And you do end up picking and choosing your battles, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's fine to look. That's normal in any relationship. Even with your parents. How much do your parents nag you? Hard baat mein your parents are nagging you, okay? But at the end of the day, you realize what it is that you're going to argue against with your parents. Like if it's like an attack to your character or an attack to your like punctuality, your work ethic, anything like that, you're going to be like, ho, I don't need to hear this right now because you know that I'm very disciplined and I've got a job and I'm also doing this on the side and whatever, okay? But then if it's like every little thing like, oh, you like laundry, socks, khana ghar pe hai, whatever, all the usual nagging, you'll be like, okay, whatever, it's fine. And you'll just leave, right?
Yeah.
You pick and choose that even when you first get married.
Yeah,
You're going to
for sure.
pick and choose certain situations because in the beginning, everything bothers you. Oh, yeah, it does. In the beginning, when you first get married, everything bothers you and you're hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, again, I don't want to stir the pot, but like, what did she mean by that? Because you don't know what people mean by certain things.
You don't know their temperament.
Yeah. Sometimes they literally that's just who they are.
Yeah.
And the whole family knows that they're like the clown of the family and they're gonna like make fun of everybody in the table.
Or they're like super aggressive and you're just like,
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, I didn't have anybody in my family like this.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said anything like that. Nobody's ever been like, oh, like you're so overdressed for this dawat. I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
So everything you take personally. But then at that point, when you're feeling like it's an actual like attack to your character, when you feel like you're being disrespected in public, when somebody's calling you out for something absolutely, you didn't even do anything. You just sat on a chair and they're like, I was sitting there first.
Yeah.
Is your name on this chair?
Yeah.
Why are we having this argument right now?
Yeah.
So you have to like, I don't know. It's so hard in the beginning.
It's so hard. And I also feel like, okay, so I think my thought with it now at this age is more so maybe the reason why you should say these things is not because you expect them to acknowledge and accept they're wrong. I don't think you should ever go into it feeling like, oh, she's also or he's also going to apologize back. Don't even go into it like
think about that.
Don't think of it like that. Think of it more in the sense of me sticking up for myself is going to help me in the long run because at least they will know that every time you disrespect me, my mouth will open and I will say something to you. So they might think twice. And you don't just get to walk into my life with your dirty feet with no consequences.
Facts.
You're not allowed in. You know what I mean? So it's more for your own peace that you do it. But I think the other part of it is that when you do call someone out, then that drive home, you're like, oh, shoot. Should I have said that? Maybe I was being too dramatic. Maybe I was just too much. And
I
you
know.
like you'll call your mom, be like, Mom, this happened. Da, 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 da. And what will your mom say? कोई बात नहीं.
मैंने तुम्हें कितनी दफा कहा है.
इस तरह की चीजें होती है, छोटी मोटी बातें हैं. It's not a big deal. These are small things.
And you're scared that like your husband's gonna get mad.
Yeah. Or
And you gotta tell him like, hey, listen, I said this. FYI, I said this.
Yeah.
But like you're so scared in the car, like what if he's gonna get mad?
Or what if you're like, you know, the overthinking? What if your brother-in-law that you had this argument with or your sister-in-law that you had this argument with goes back and now is like telling her parents or his parents, oh, she said this, 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 this. Or they're calling your husband and being like, your wife is so rude. She's a rude gal. Okay?
Rude gal
But do you see
them.
that, The mental gymnastics is very intense. Okay. There's too much happening, man. It's a lot. It's heavy.
Never ever tell your spouse, your family, sibling, cousins, etc., their weaknesses, nor yours. Don't ever tell them. Don't ever tell your spouse about your
Weaknesses.
weaknesses.
Family's weaknesses, I understand.
But your own?
Your own, I'm like, no, like, would you say, like, this is my weakness? Chocolate is my weakness? No.
I mean, I wouldn't call things my weakness, but I will be like, hey, listen, I am unable to do this. Can you step up?
Yeah.
Because then if I don't share that, then he's never going to know. And then I'm just going to feel like I'm doing it all the time.
I also think that when you are with someone for a long period of time, even if you don't tell them, they can kind of pick up on things just like you can.
Yeah. But somebody else said too, don't share your family secrets. It will be used against you.
I think what they, but it is sometimes, think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone says, oh my God, like I don't really like the way that this person is in my family. Like there's so much like this. And then later on you're like, oh my God, like this person's like this. And then something happens with you and your husband's family.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be like, well, you don't like anyone in that family. You don't like anyone here. So maybe you're the problem. Those things can happen. If you're in a marriage where somebody is maybe like, I think this can happen if your relationship is maybe not the healthiest.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes when you get into a fight, like people will bring up things like that to hurt you.
Yeah. Or it's kind of like if they know, let's say something that your sister did in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say your sister was engaged before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then everybody knew that your sister was engaged. So this wasn't a secret, but then like you kind of told the ins and outs to your husband.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you know, when you're sitting there and then somebody else says something negative about your siblings and you're like, yo, I can say what I want to say, but you aren't allowed to talk smack about that.
You're allowed to say nothing.
But then it's like, if you share secrets about your family to your spouse, then maybe they feel like the right that they can also judge and say things about your family.
So. Yeah.
And then sometimes it might be like, you know, when some comments are just way over and you're just like, okay, you shouldn't have said that. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Like, I know that my sister is, or my brother or my cousin is guilty of doing this, but that doesn't give you the right to say that. It could be one of those situations too.
And I think that does happen, especially when you've been married for a longer period of time. And you're like, oh, but I know how she is. Oh, but I know how he is. You know what I mean?
Did we expect anything less?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You're just
that's
like,
true.
oh,
Yeah, that's true. But I think sometimes I also have to say that a new person coming into the family has a really good perspective too, because there's things that they see from the point of like, I'm not in that family.
Yeah.
So you can also spot behaviors that you're like, that's really not okay.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
maybe your husband coming in will see something amongst like the siblings that he's like, this is not
normal.
And you guys are sitting there being like, this is just the way it is.
Yeah,
We're
this is
siblings.
just the
This
way
is
it
how
is.
it's
Yeah.
always been. Right. So sometimes it's kind of okay to have that feedback. But to this point, I also get it because we've talked about how much we should limit what we share with our moms.
Yeah.
When it comes to our spouse. Right? Because you know that your mom is going to sit there worrying about everything. Because she has nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Hi, hina ki ladai ho gayi. And you already like made up. The whole conversation's passed.
Yeah.
You guys are eating pizza. Everything's chill.
And she's calling you like, "Sab kuch theek hai ghar mein? Kya ho raha hai?"
She's like making dua for you. She's so worried. You know?
Bless their souls, honestly.
Honestly.
And we would be the same.
Yeah.
But I think
it goes both ways.
it goes both ways. But I also feel like the reason why we share things with our parents is because we are just human beings need to feel nurtured, and our parents are our safety net for many of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Where we feel so like comforted by our moms. Like how many of us girls, okay, and I know there's some that don't have good relationships, but I'm talking about the ones that have good relationships. How many of us girls, when it's that time of the month, you're just like, oh, I just want to go to my mom because I know that she'll take care of me. She's going to make me my cup of cha. She's going to tell me to go lay down. She's going to let me watch all the TV I need, even at this ripe old age of 76. I could be as old as I am, but my mom would always be there to take care of me. You know what I mean? She'll make me a fresh roti. She'll make me my favorite food, and she'll just take care of me. And it's because they are your safe spot. So when you're going through a hard time and you're like, I just need advice.
Yeah.
You go to a parent because they're older, they've been through it, and you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And so I think we go at it from that perspective, but then the parents are like, it's over. They're signing divorce papers. They kind of take it, not the dads, the moms.
The moms.
It's the moms.
You know why? It's because we'd only share something really serious with the dads.
Yeah.
Every little thing, your dad's gonna be like, you should be slaving away to your husband.
Yeah, they have a
You should
different
be making him
perspective.
chai and garam
They have a
roti
different
every day.
perspective.
Did you shine his shoes when he walked in? Is there a red carpet rolling from there to the kitchen table?
Yeah.
Your dad's gonna be like, step up. What are you doing?
100%. 100%. But I think, I don't know. I don't think that you should have like major secrets from your spouse.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be able to be such good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that should be the basis of your relationship, that you have such a great friendship.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like ride or die. That's how I feel.
I'm a UK girl and I got married back home in Pakistan. I wish I knew how dependent my in-laws would be on my husband. It's a big culture difference.
It's a culture difference, but you think it's just the Pakistan part, or do you think it's the fact that I'm assuming he's an only son. This is my assumption. I could be wrong.
I don't know. It doesn't say.
I feel like if it's an only son, oh man, it falls heavy on them.
It falls heavy.
And I feel bad for them. I feel bad not because parents are like a son or a burden. They're not, right? But I just feel like sometimes there's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
On sons.
Yeah.
Unrealistic expectations in the sense of, when you grow older, your sole responsibility is to provide for us, take care of us, do everything we need you to do, our priorities before the priorities of your wife.
Right.
And I think that is where things get messy.
It's also like, okay, where you are on the planet also changes how this is.
Yeah.
We've talked a couple of episodes ago about how we're so like hyper independent in the West. America, UK, Canada, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's still a huge sense of community in other countries. And there's pros and cons to both. That's what I'll say. It's nice to be independent, but it's also nice to have your, network of people to help uplift you and have somewhere to go and, have an open door concept. However, I feel like in some countries, it's so heavily weighed on the men to take care of their parents that every other responsibility is ignored because that responsibility trumps all.
But do you think it's countries or do you think it's culture?
I think it's both.
I feel like it's
because I feel like in Pakistan, I don't know how common it is for people to move out. I think joint family system is very common in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, you still have an option to move out. And I think things are changing and things are shifting. It's not always the case, but I do think still heavily dominated is the fact that they'll be like, oh, we'll renovate the home. You can have your own like koti or whatever, but we're still all living under the same roof.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And I think that's when things get tough because, okay, let's say you married somebody from Pakistan, you move back to the UK. Okay. But the parents are still in Pakistan.
Then I think that they would be like, you have to financially support us because now you're in a Western country and you're making all this money, which is fine. Okay, look, you know what? When it comes to financially supporting parents, this is my view on it. I've never been someone to believe that you should leave your parents high and dry. Never till this day. I'm not about it. I think your parents have done a lot for you. And I think you should support your parents, but not at the cost of it ruining your marriage. Like, for example, let's say you are financially trying to support your family. You have a home, you have a car, you're trying to make ends meet. Okay. And then back home, your parents are like, you have to help us. I don't think that you have to help in a sense where you are not able to pay your mortgage in your current life with your wife because you're too busy paying off your parents' mortgage. I don't think that that's a fair expectation. I think you can help them within your means.
Yeah.
And I also think in that sense, instead of being a hero, just say things openly.
Yeah.
This is what I can do because I have a mortgage and I have these costs coming up here. Of course, I want to do everything that I can to help you, but this is what I can do. Right. But I think a lot of the times what happens is like sons have this horrible pressure on them too. And honestly, I genuinely feel bad for them that because maybe their fathers did that for their in-law or their parents, right? You almost feel like you have to continue that tradition, right? Where it's like, जो भी मैं कर सकता हूँ ना, even if it's harming my relationship or my marriage, I have to do it. Otherwise, I am a bad son.
Right.
And can you imagine the son that is trying and the parents are like, oh, ever since you got married, you've just changed and now you don't care about us.
Yeah.
Like the guilt.
That's what ends up happening.
Yeah, the emotional blackmail.
Yeah, because and then the husband is stuck. He's like, I'm trying to be the best son I can be. I'm providing for my parents, okay? But at the same time, I also have to pay rent.
Yeah.
And now at the end of the day, I'm not saving anything. So every single you're literally like feeling like you're penny pinching.
Yeah.
And then you're hearing that it's still not enough.
Yeah,
that's devastating for any human. I'm not even just talking about men, women. I'm talking about any human being. But like for the men, the desi men who shoulder that responsibility, it really does take a toll on you. And then you're expected not to be emotional. And then you're expected not to share how you're feeling. You're also expected to be there every single time your parents need you in their time of need.
And then you're also expected to be like, oh, well, I have everything on lock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you're expected to like bring your wife and your kids over all the time. And then your wife is yelling at you too. Like, you never spend time with us. Jab dekho humne udhar jana hota hai. I don't want to go today. Like, it's hard on him too.
It is hard. And I feel like that's the problem, that they're stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And being stuck in the middle when you have your parents on one side and your wife on one side is really, really, really hard.
Yeah. And then sometimes you're like, should I merge it? Should everybody just come together? And then you know that has its own issues.
That has me. Do not merge. Do not merge.
I can't do 2 mortgages. Let me just do 1. Everybody come move in together. And then you're like,
I understand the logic behind it, but the mental fight is not worth it.
I know, but you know what? I feel like men just see it as like a smart move.
Logic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because the logic takes over and you're like, okay, this makes more logical sense to me.
Yeah.
Which it does. But
that's rough.
I start as you mean to go on. Don't do too much to begin with, because once you do too much, there's no going back. Whoa, this is so spot on. This is so spot on. And this one is directed more to girls, I think. Actually, it could be to guys too.
I think it can be to guys too.
It could be to guys too, but I feel like girls will do it more because we leave our home with this fantasy of like, I'm gonna be the favorite. Everybody's gonna love me. My mother-in-law and I are gonna be best friends. My sills are gonna love me. My brills are gonna love me. Like, my husband's gonna love me. And the way you put in the work, it's like someone gives you an inch and you give them a mile.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
And then when you go above and beyond, there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
Because now you've set the expectation for every event, for every dawat, for every occasion, you're going to show up like that. And then what if one day you decide you're too tired?
Yeah, it's like what that example of like your mother-in-law says to you, oh, मैं अपनी सहेलियों के घर जा रही हूँ, तुम मेरे साथ आ जा. I'm going to my friend's house, you come with me. And inside you're like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't know nobody there. They're all so old.
Yeah.
Nobody relates. I don't relate. But I got to show up. I got to be that good daughter-in-law, so I'm going to go. And then you go. And then the next time you go. And the next time you go. And then the next time you go. And after that.
Then the 10th time around, you're like, I don't want to go.
And then
what do you do?
And then what? Then what?
Or you got 2 brother-in-laws, okay? And you showed up for the first brother-in-law's wedding. Dance practices, dholkiyan at your house. You're like out there telling the golgappe ready wala to be like, yo, fresh golgappe, this pani sucks. Let's go fix this. You're mic and ear trying to arrange this like wedding entrance. And then in between the first brother-in-law and the second brother-in-law, you had a kid. And now your second brother-in-law is getting married. And you're like, I can't do it anymore. I don't have the capacity.
You better sacrifice the kid to show up for the second brother-in-law. Don't do the simple. Dare her. Yeah. Give up your child to show up for that second brother-in-law.
Because you better. You did it all. And then everyone's catching feelings. Oh, well, you hosted a dholki for my brother. Why aren't you hosting one for the other one?
Oh, you don't like me as much. Oh, obviously because you liked him.
So you have favorite brothers now?
And then the brothers get into a conflict. Like, he was always the favorite anyway.
Yeah.
You know how they do that?
Yeah. Now you're not even going to treat my wife the same way you treat her wife?
Oh my God. Woo! Yeah. So initially when you start off at a 0. Give them a 0.1.
Just do what you have to do.
Yeah.
But this actually goes for like anything. And I feel like men are so much better at it than we are. But like, let's say you get a new job.
Man.
Okay? You get a new job. And your boss is like, yo, I need a slide deck by Friday. You're like, all right, cool.
It'll be done by Wednesday.
Yeah. And no, within an hour, you're sending him the slide deck. Why are you doing this yourself? He said Friday. But hi, do it now. Oh my God, he asked me. Oh my God. Men are like, no, Friday midnight, they're handing it in.
No, but the reason why we do that is because for us, it's like we're eager beavers, okay?
We need to stop.
We want to get that promotion. So we're like, if we do so much before it's due, then we'll get extra for it.
You won't.
But that's what happened in school too, right? You went above and beyond for that 100%, right?
Did you ever get that 100%? We saw your card.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually had a teacher where like I did a really insane presentation one time.
Yeah.
It was sick. Okay. And he's like, I would give you 100%, but I can't. So I'm gonna give you a 99. I was like, the flip? You are not saying this to me, sir.
Yo, biggest lesson learned in life. You don't need to give 100%.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get it anyways.
But you know what? This is our mentality where we're like, no. We got to prove ourselves. We are capable. Just like our mom was. I'm my mother's daughter. You know, or like you go in there and you also have this idea of like, I want to be like the daughter-in-law that everyone's like, oh my God, she's killing it.
Yeah.
Every girl wants to do
I need my son to find a girl like her.
Yeah.
That's what we want to
We're
hear.
like, I want to look the best. I want to cook the best. I want my house to not be the nicest.
Dress the best.
I want to host the best parties. I want everything on lock. Okay. But then what you realize is that you're out here filling so many cups of other people and your cup is always empty. People are doing the bare minimum for you. It goes back to that thing that you said once where you were like, you know, you're giving gifts to your mother-in-law on Mother's Day. You're like, here, happy Mother's Day. Let me take you out. Let me sacrifice my Mother's Day to come see you. Okay. Even though you're also a mother, but is anybody calling you and saying happy Mother's Day to you?
Nope.
No. Is anyone being like, oh, you are the mother of my grandchildren. Why don't I get you some flowers? No. But instead, the mother-in-law is like to her son, it's Mother's Day. You didn't come and visit me today. But it's like, what about me? I'm a mom. He wants to take me out, but obviously that doesn't matter.
Or it's like in your in-laws, right? Like you are the hostess with the mostest.
Yeah.
You're a Hina. You're pulling out the chafing trays. You've got all the food. It's all homemade.
Yeah.
Okay. And then somebody comes from out of town. Okay. You're from your in-law side.
Hi.
Now there's going to be this unspoken expectation. नहीं, Hina ke ghar to hum jayenge.
Oh,
दावत तो उसने रखनी है.
buddy.
And it's like nobody's asked you. Nobody's
just
checking
going.
in on you. They're like, oh, we're going to come for nashta, 8 a.m. You're like, how am I supposed to have halwa puri ready at 8 a.m.? And it's got to be fresh. It's got to be homemade. You can't cater that. Ab to rishtedar aa rahe, ab to hamare naak nahi katwana hai
And
na.
you know what would happen? Hina would stay up all night
Facts.
and make that halwa puri.
She would.
And I would not have a lick of sleep. But that's how girls are. Forget Hina. That's just the way that girls have been raised.
Yep.
To be like, no matter what, any guest enters your house, you do the most. I I don't think that there's a problem with hosting guests because I think it's like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Someone coming to your house, making them feel at home.
I actually enjoy it too.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's fun, right? But I think it's when people have this expectation of you to do certain things.
Yeah.
And then if one time you don't do it, then they look at you in a negative way because of that.
Yeah. And then they take it so personally.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, if I go
what
back
it
to the
is.
brother-in-law wedding situation, like that one brother-in-law is going to catch feelings no matter what because he's going to be like, when it was the other brother's turn, you turned up.
Yeah.
Now when it's my turn, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're just coming in like a mehman.
And they don't see that now you have a baby and your life has changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sleepless nights are real.
So I think, yeah, you have to, it's not that you do the bare minimum. You do what you can, but also make sure that you are also keeping an eye out on yourself and realizing, is someone doing anything for me?
Yeah. Do it within your means, I would say.
Yeah, and-
right?
yeah.
Like if you feel like you love to host, but like maybe you don't want to cook, right? It's okay to cater. This is what I'm trying to say. Like
100%.
give yourself grace in certain things and in certain expectations in your family so that you're not out here like for every single little weekend dawat, you're like pulling all the stops, right? Yeah. And then when you want to here and there, if it's a big celebration and you want to pull all the stops, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just feel like you definitely have to like build on that expectation. If you do the most, if you're 100 at the most in the first meeting, there's nowhere to go from there.
Yeah, but can I also say, when you are 100, right?
Yeah.
Even if the next time you're like a 80, the way you beat yourself up to,
Oh my God, I know.
like, oh, I did this wrong. Oh, I did this wrong.
Why are we like this?
We have no compassion for ourselves. I was watching this TED talk the other day and it was all about like how important it is to have self-compassion. And man, Desi girls lack it, yo. Like we are just beating ourselves up front, left, and center. We are our worst enemy. Why am I like this? Why did I do this? Oh my God, I got this wrong. I'm so dumb. Like, you know, the way we like self-talk ourselves, it's so disgusting and horrible. If only we were just like, you know what, today was a really hard day for me and I really struggled and I did the best that I could, period.
No, you know why? Because we're going to be like, today was a hard day and I still showed up at 100.
Yeah.
That's how we want to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just not possible to do that.
Yeah. We just want to be like the He-Mans and like do everything all the time. इसलिए तो हम बीमार हो जाते हैं
And
honestly.
जब देखो हम कहते हैं we're tired. Of course we're tired. Look at all the things that we do.
Yeah, like your battery is at 0. Your battery's at 0, but you're still doing it.
And then it's like, you know what makes me sad? When things like this roll around and then you're just not happy doing it anymore. And when the happiness is gone, it's like we've talked about, like passion projects. But then all of a sudden it becomes this like boj. It's not bringing you any more joy. It's actually a burden. You're not going to enjoy it anymore. Then you're going to have a sour face and then people are going to start nitpicking at certain things. Like, oh, Hina, you look kind of tired. Oh, did you not get any rest? And you're just like, oh my God, look at the meal I put in front of you. You're going to ask me how tired I am right now?
But it's also like, speaking on that, it's also sometimes hard when you do the 100%.
Yeah.
And like no one even acknowledges.
Ooh.
Like, what I think is like a really basic thing to say to somebody when they host you for anything is like, wow, thank you so much for hosting. I really appreciate that you went all out and made the food.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't like the food, just say the compliment.
God, seriously.
Someone's spent all day cooking. You're not even. And I think that is so hurtful because you feel like, wow, like I slaved over this food day and night. And like, like you couldn't even acknowledge and say thank you.
You know what else makes me sad?
What?
Is that when you do host a dawat and your table settings on lock, the food is amazing, everything is great. And then they come back with the negative comment.
Ooh.
Okay? When they sit there and they're like,
oh, you did it like this, but my daughter does it like this and I like it better.
Or they're just like, oh, like, theek hai, but Hina, ye bartan to itne achhe nahi hai, itne khaas nahi hai, sale pe liye the.
Or like, हाँ चावल अच्छे थे मगर मेरे चावल ना और अच्छे होते हैं इसके अंदर नमक कम है
Hina, चावल नहीं भिगोए.
चावल नहीं भिगोए. My God.
Or they'll sit there and be like, nahi, Coke na mere samne lana. Diet Coke nahi hai.
Oh, or when someone else gives you a compliment and they can't fathom someone giving you a compliment, so they say, नहीं इसने नहीं चावल बनाए थे, मैंने चमचा हिलाया था तो मैंने बनाए हैं.
नहीं मैंने हिना को कहा था कि ये फूल लेके आओ.
अच्छा आपको ये चीज पसंद थी, मैंने इसको कहा था कि आज बनाए क्योंकि मुझे पता था कि आपको क्या चीज पसंद है.
ये मेरी रेसिपी है.
Oh my God. Hands. I'm about to...
ये मेरी रेसिपी है.
I'm getting so bad right now.
Or you're coming downstairs and be like, oh, itna fancy suit है ना. It's like the negative.
Or when they say, लगता है तुम बहुत काम कर रही हो, हुलिया ही नहीं तुम्हारा दुरुस्त. like लॉन का सूट पहना हुआ है, बाहर बर्फ पड़ रही है, तुमने लॉन का सूट.
अपने बाल नहीं कंघी किए, स्ट्रेटनर लेके आओ. तुम्हारा डाइसन किधर है?
Oh my God. Or when they say like सालन में ना ज्यादा ही मिर्च तुमने डाल दिया.
मुझसे खाया नहीं जा रहा.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Lord have
वैसे तो तेल बहुत है ना, मुझे चम्मच दो, मैं तेल हटाऊं.
But that one I'm like, हाँ तेल होता है वैसे.
Yeah, but it's the calling you out of it.
Like see,
or when you can do it
silently.
I know, but when you're making chai.
Oh,
right? And
God.
You're sweating, yaar, chulhe pe khade ho gaye, you're making mixed chai because you know that all these aunties want their mixed chai, okay? Jise pasine chhut rahe and they're like, है ना, बहुत ज़्यादा कड़वी है चाय. दूध नहीं डाला तो
इसका रंग नहीं अच्छा. इसका रंग, चाय का रंग होना चाहिए ना, ये इसका रंग सही नहीं.
मुझे नींद नहीं आएगी, ये बहुत तेज है.
Or when they say something like, मैं ना मिक्स चाय नहीं पीती, मैं तो सेपरेट चाय पीती हूँ, मैंने ये वाली चाय नहीं पीती, मैं सिर्फ ग्रीन टी पीती हूँ, मैं ग्रीन टी नहीं पीती, मैं हनी वाली चाय पीती हूँ. Like you're sitting there like, इसके अंदर दो, तुमने कितनी चीनी, ये वाली चीनी डाली है, ये वाली चीनी नहीं अच्छी, वो वाली चीनी डाली. Like you're sitting there like, brother, I ain't got the time. Make your own chai. Make your own chai.
Seriously.
I don't wanna.
इतना मीठा ना लाया करो.
Oh, Lord.
And you're like, can you just sit there and appreciate that I went and got 6 different varieties of dessert?
Or like, इतना खाना क्यों तुमने बनाया? अब ये सारा जाया जाएगा. You know? Or when you're like, नहीं मैं दे दूंगी, आप बाद में ले जाएं खाने के लिए. नहीं मैं घर में फ्रेश खाना बना लूंगी सारों के लिए, कोई जरूरत नहीं है.
हमारे घर में नहीं कोई खाएगा ये.
तो आप यहाँ पे क्यों खा रही हैं फिर?
उंगलियां चाट के.
Sometimes it's just like,
it's the negative, the things that look like they're supposed to be a compliment, but the underlying negativity.
Why can't you just be like, the food is delicious, period, end of discussion.
Also like, wow, thank you so much for making 8 dishes. We appreciate it.
Okay, but can I ask you something? Let's be real for a second. If your mom came to your house, would your mom not call you out on things? Because mine would.
My mom would call me out on things, but she'd also appreciate the effort.
My mom, 100%, she's very appreciative of the effort, right? Like I think I'm a very extremely organized human.
Fact,
okay? List on list on list. So when my mom comes, whenever I invite her to a dawah, she'll come and be like, I already knew everything was going to be done and ready to go. But she is definitely also the type that will be like, iske andar namak kam hai. I think fix this. But she doesn't, I know her style. She doesn't do it because she wants me to feel bad. I know she does it because she's like, I want you to kill it.
This is
That's
the
the thing with
difference.
my mom.
But this is the difference.
Yeah.
Even my mom, like sometimes I'll tell her to come earlier and I'm like, aap chakhe. Because I trust her and I know that she's not going to sabotage my dawat.
Okay. That's what it is. The sabotagery. The dawat sabotagery. Put that into Webster's dictionary. Dawat sabotagery. Okay.
She's gonna come in and genuinely be like, नहीं वाकई इसमें तेल ज्यादा है, इसको जरा हम चम्मच के साथ हटा देते हैं. Okay, let me try this. इसमें थोड़ा सा चाट मसाला ऐड करो. इसको इधर रखो.
इस सालन को थोड़ा सा दम दो.
हाँ. Or she'll be like, बादाम पिस्ता काटो, सेवियों के ऊपर रखो. Like she'll do the finishing cherry on top for me, and I trust her that she's gonna do it so that it's not sabotaging my thought.
They don't do it that way. What they do is they wait for the guests to roll on in. Okay. And then what they do is then they will throw the day. Okay.
Facts.
Like you're serving the chawal.
Yeah.
Aap chawal ne. Aap chawal. Okay. And then it's like, मुझे लगता है तुमने चावल कम बनाए हैं. In front of everybody. Okay.
And you're like, meanwhile, 5 cup मैंने भिगोए थे. What do you mean? I can feed the whole neighborhood.
And then everybody's eating the chawal. The guests be saying, बहुत मजेदार खाना बनाया तुमने अरूज. And then your meal be like, नमक कम है तुम्हारे चावलों में. That's how it gets done.
Like वो जो brand मैंने कहा था तुमने वो नहीं लिए.
हाय.
ये जरा मोटे हो गए हैं चावल.
Can we talk about this चावल brand competition?
Facts.
मैं इंडिया गेट के चावल लेती हूँ. तुम कौन से लेती? तुम टिल्डा के लेती हो? अच्छा टिल्डा के अच्छे नहीं, ये वाले अच्छे.
मीनार क्लासिक
वो वाले सेल पे लगे हुए
बासमती राइस,
वो जाके ले लो.
My goodness.
ये वाले चावल ना ये चिपक जाते हैं. ये बहुत मोटे चावल हैं. There's like a million different types.
There's a million different types. I don't even know, man.
Yo, with the Tilda long green, the purple
you need
bay.
the long grain. But also there's a Minard classic. That's the one I get.
I get the Tilda long grain in the purple pack.
Ooh.
And it's insane.
Yeah.
Good. It's very good.
But this is a real thing, yo.
It's
our chaval rant of the day.
Chaval rant of the day.
Something you learned in your marriage that you wish you knew before.
Your in-laws are not your friends.
Whoa. Direct.
Guns blazing.
Direct, yo. You have to ask for everything.
It's better to be alone than lonely. Ooh. Who hurt you, sister? Sister.
Communicate before marriage about expectations and feelings.
Age leads to maturity.
Damn. Try and move out.
Men are like babies.
Talk about real issues like finances, job, childcare, goals, not just about what your favorite color is.
The person who earns the most has the most power. Facts, not gonna lie.
The hardest thing to do is live in a joint family.
Don't be too nice.
Hard truths about yourself, your patterns, your insecurities. Work on them. Go to therapy.
The first year is the toughest. Hang in there.
Learning how to let things go and which fights to actually pick.
That it sucks.
You'll never get your old self back.
Expectations to do all the household work.
Adulting is so hard.
Don't go for looks, go for character and charisma.
How much I would be calling my mother-in-law just to do a good bahu check-in.
You will never be able to please your in-laws.
Don't get pregnant right after marriage. 70% of marriages dissolve after having kids.
Oh my God. The outside world isn't all butterflies and rainbows. Ooh.
You missed what you used to be. You missed what used to be your home.
Love is not enough. Values and lifestyle play a bigger role in compatibility.
Choose your battles wisely.
Respect is earned, not given, just because of new relationships.
Men are idiots, even the ones you choose for yourself.
Your freedom will be gone, especially if your husband is clingy.
It's okay to wait to start a family.
Everything will change after you have children. Partners become roommates.
The importance of not making your husband your only best friend.
So one person said, love is not enough. Values and lifestyle play a bigger role in compatibility. And I could not agree more. Love is not enough. Love, I think, is something that it grows and it changes. I think what happens in the beginning, if you have a loved marriage, is you have that initial feeling of like, oh my God, I love this person. And I think that sometimes is a phase. But I think real love comes from a place of like, a joint compatibility, a joint understanding, knowing each other's communication patterns and being able to understand each other and to still be best friends throughout it all. I think that is more at the core of what love is, other than the butterflies.
Also, I think it's really important to understand that if you are being criticized, if you are getting into an argument, if you are confronting someone about your feelings, that doesn't mean that they don't necessarily love you.
Yeah.
And we are guilty of thinking that if somebody's going to say something negative about me, oh my God, he got mad at something. Oh, we're about to have an argument. I don't want to have an argument. You know, the whole like, no, I love this person. I don't want to have an argument. I don't want any confrontation. This person should still love you at the end of it. And that's a reality for you. And that's something he should also vocalize. Like, hey, listen, I know we're getting in an argument. Hina, I know you and I have a disagreement. But that doesn't, you shouldn't question my love for you because of this.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to communicate healthy with you and I because we are going to be spending the rest of our lives together.
Yeah.
Right? That's a way of showing your love. You know how you said love changes in cultures? It's not always going to be the same. It's not always going to be like he's going to bring you flowers and open the door for you for every single little thing. He should. And in the beginning, he'll probably do a bit more of it than he does later on. But he's going to show you love in different ways.
And I also think that fighting and having arguments is like, in my opinion, it's really healthy. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about having arguments. I think that there's some people, when they get into an argument, they will leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Mentally or even physically, they'll leave. And it's like, you know, like how they say fight or flight. And I think sometimes with women, like if we do get into an argument, it depends on the type of personality you are. But like, I think I'm more the type that I need to like hash it out. I need to talk about it. Right. But then when you're with someone who doesn't even talk and they walk away, then you feel like you are just alone. Like you're kind of like it's like stonewalling, right? Where someone just kind of like ends and leaves. And so you're just like, okay, but this is my way of communicating. Like this is how I want to figure it all out, right? And maybe that's their method, but how do you come to a common ground with it, right?
Because at the end of the day, if he does just walk away, then you're never going to know how he's truly feeling.
Yeah.
So you're going to have, your cup is going to be so empty because you're going to be like, you're not telling me how you're feeling. I'm not going to know how to react next time this happens. You're not telling me it's okay. You're not giving me anything. You're just walking away.
Yeah. And then you also feel, I think, very much like, okay, so I can't get upset because being upset is bad, right? Because that person will leave then, right? So I think you put yourself in a spot sometimes where you don't know how to solve problems in a healthy way because as much as one person might be trying, the other person might not understand your style of communication, and then you both butt heads. But I will always stand by the fact that like healthy communication and arguing is really important. You have to, at the end of the day, yes, to what you said, I think it actually makes your relationship stronger because you need to butt heads with people to create, you know how they say like friction causes, I don't know what the exact saying is. I'm forgetting. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes you need those things to make you stronger. Sometimes those things are the reasons why you have distance in your life. And then you realize that maybe that's not the right person for you. But I think it's really important to know that phase of like affection and the chemistry portion. I think chemistry is, of course, it's really important, but that initial phase of it where it's like you are just being like, you know, flowers and dates every single day. And it's just a different phase in your life. And there's going to be different phases in your marriage where it's not always going to be like that, especially after you have kids. It may not be like
so
that
different
because your priorities have changed.
Right.
But I think ultimately, if you can come together and find a way to be on the same page and still be supportive of each other. And I also think a really big one is if that person brings you a sense of calm and peace.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a bad spot, they don't belittle you. Instead, they're able to provide you a source of comfort. I think that's a really big,
just feeling safe around that person.
the safety thing.
Right.
That's a really big one.
I also feel like it's also normal to have distance from your spouse.
Yeah.
Right. This can go back to the one that we said about making it so that your spouse is not your only friend.
Yeah.
Right. I do agree with that because distance does make the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're in each other's face, in each other's space all the time, and then you also don't know how to communicate or tell one another that like, hey, this is bothering me, then you're really just going to hold on to things for way too long.
Yeah.
And it's going to just turn into like an atmosphere you don't want to be in. But if you have, like, let's say you have a spouse who can't confront and walks away a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, how would you handle it? you are the kind of person that you have to let it out. You have to
because I am that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I would feel very like alienated.
So what would you do? Let's say you're like, we're gonna work on this. We have to work on
I
this.
would probably be like, why are you not talking to me?
Okay.
Right. And then he would still turn off because that's just his personality.
Right.
So I think I would just turn off too then.
You don't think you'd try and find a middle ground? Like, hey,
I know I would, of course.
Yeah.
I was just meaning in an argument what would happen.
Right.
If I was trying to fix it, I would be like, well, why do you always walk away? Like, what is it? What's happening? And if they say, well, I just don't like getting into arguments.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, well, don't you think it's also healthy to get into an argument?
What if they're like,
try
no.
to understand?
Well, like, no, I don't think so.
I think that's really hard then.
I know,
like,
it's
how
so
do you
hard.
solve that?
I don't know if there's a solution, but I think you can try and find a way to be like, listen, you don't want to argue, that's fine, but you also need to know how I'm feeling. And then I need to know how you're feeling.
But you know what happens is that we both have egos in those situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have a middle person be that mediator between the two.
Right.
Like if it gets to a point where things are like really, really bad and you're having a hard time communicating and there's really no common ground that you can find, then sometimes it's good to go to like a couples therapist.
Yeah.
It really is.
Just so
they look at it from a very like neutral point of view.
Yeah. And also like maybe in that setting, your spouse would open up. And be like, actually, you know what? When this happened, this is how I felt. And then you might sit there being upset, like, oh my God, when I was saying anything, you didn't say anything, but now you're opening up. And that's fine. But at least now you have an insight on how he's feeling for certain things.
Yeah.
Because before you were completely clueless.
Or maybe what could also work is that if that person needs that space to leave, right, which they should be allowed to do, they can just vocalize and say, listen, I need a few minutes. I'll be back in 5 minutes. We can finish the conversation. Then you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And then that person is like, taking his space, and then after 5 minutes, you'll come back and you'll hash it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is. That's
me.
what it is.
You know how you like to hash it out right away?
Yeah.
I need my space. But I always let the other person know, like, hey, I'm still processing.
See, I like that.
Or like, hey, like I'll come back and revisit this. Or like, hey, I actually don't know what to say right now. So when I do, like maybe we can revisit this. And like, because I'm like that.
Yeah.
Or else I speak out of emotion. And when my emotions get the best of me, then I sound delulu. Because I feel like I'm not clear and concise in what is it that I'm actually feeling. It's now clouded by so much emotion, happiness, sadness, anger, whatever it is. Okay. And then I can't really vocalize the real point I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Then it looks like I'm talking in circles.
No, that does happen. I feel like when you let your emotions get the best of you, then you do. That is how it is.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it depends on personalities. Like some people's personalities, like I would say my personality is a lot more where I like to express myself.
Right.
Like I will I need to talk it out, And I think with that, like it would, what you said is great because even though it takes you time to process it, you're still like, hey, give me a few, I'll be back and we can address it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that you're taking your time that you need. The other person is like, okay, at least I know that person's not running away and making me feel like they don't want to work on it at all. So I think that's probably the healthier approach.
But guys, I wasn't always like this. I had to learn. Yeah. So in the beginning, I knew that I would do this and then I would just get quiet and like shut down. And then I slowly realized that I had to vocalize to other people to let them know that I'm actually, hey, I'm processing.
Yeah.
Hey, I need time.
Yeah.
But my problem used to be, and I can admit to it, is that I was never able to say that piece before. And then everyone would be like, oh, she's just mad. Oh, she's mad at everything.
Yeah.
Oh, she gets mad at everything. Oh, she just shut down. She doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to confront me anymore. And it's like, that's not what it was.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the confidence or the vocabulary to express it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're in a situation like that, you are kind of like deer caught in headlights.
Yeah.
Like, what do I say? You're saying this to me. You're saying I hurt you. You're saying I did this. You're saying I did that. And then you're kind of taken aback too. Cause you're like, okay, hold on. Somebody is attacking my character. That's not who I am. So then I think you do. It's a smart thing to do, to take a few moments to yourself and to,
But I think it's also important to let the other person know.
Yeah.
Because if it's like you and I
think so too.
and then I have to know that because this is how you are, I should let you know so that you're not just like sitting alone being like, what do I do now?
Exactly.
Right? Because that's not cool either from my perspective.
But that's the whole point, that you realize each other's communication styles and you work together.
Yeah.
Guys, why do we sound like such amazing therapists right now?
Meanwhile, the baggage we got.
Meanwhile, we should be like taking all this information and using it in our lives.
Facts. Not just on the 1 hour episodes.
All right, guys. So that is our episode for today. We wanted to thank you all so much for sending in your responses. Honestly, what would we do without that? Like, really, what would we do?
We'd have no episode.
We'd have no episode. Thank you for the love, the support. Make sure you guys are subscribing to Patreon. It's only like $5 a month. And you asked for the extra footage. We heard you. We're giving it to you. So roll on over there. Tell everybody about it. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel, following us on all of our socials, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Okay, mom.